Hello everyone, this is Hassan Aman, and I'm going to be demonstrating Typify, which is a usage-driven type inference system for Python. Our project comes in two forms, a command line interface, which is more oriented towards researchers, and a Visual Studio Code extension, which is oriented towards developers. Our tool is compatible with Windows, Mac, and Linux, and requires at least Python version 3.11 and Visual Studio Code version 1.85 or higher. Let us start now by looking at the CLI tool. Navigate to the root directory of the Python project you're working on and launch the terminal. You then want to set up a virtual environment if you haven't already done so. You can then go ahead and activate the environment. Since this project has a requirements.txt file, we must install the dependencies first. Next, you can run the command pip install typify CLI. After it is installed, you now have access to the Typify command line interface, and we can perform inference on this project. Type in typify infer, followed by the root directory, and followed by the output directory. When you run this command for the first time, it will take a few seconds since it has to download the index for the context retrieval mode. The CLI also allows you to build custom retrieval indexes, perform batch inference and evaluation on datasets, and compare the results. To know more about this and other features, please refer to the documentation and the technical paper. The output generated a JSON index containing all the type and token information, which is very useful for downstream tools. We also have the config.json file, which can be used to configure inference-related settings, such as whether you want context retrieval mode enabled, deep learning mode, or the currently experimental option, augmented context. There are also a few other options, which once again you can read and know more about by referring to the documentation. We will now look at the Visual Studio Code extension. So let's launch this project in VS Code. Before we take a look at the extension, we need to understand what the concern is. If you take a look at this function, for example, the default type inferencer infers these types as any, but that's not very helpful. Let's see how Typify solves this. Head over to the Extensions tab within Visual Studio Code, type in Typify, and now click on Install. After it is installed, you will notice a few things. Firstly, there is this new panel on the left side, and there is a Typify status indicator on the bottom right. Typify will automatically start up and initialize when it detects a Python project. In the sidebar panel, you will notice the settings that we saw in the config.json file, with some of the more technical ones omitted to be more developer friendly. You can at any time change these settings and hit reanalyze. You can also pause or resume Typify's analysis engine without having to disable the extension. And you also get to see the current status. Now coming back to the problem at hand. You can see now that when I hover over this, Typify not only tells me what the inferred types are based on usage, but it also informs me of all the call signs for this function and what parameter types they were called with. It also gives me an option to annotate, so I can annotate any parameter as well as the return type. There are many more features and many more to come, but it is not possible to cover everything in this demo. However, we will still look at one more. So let's take a look at this function. Its usage isn't present anywhere in the codebase, so what will be the inferred types of these parameters? Well, if we hover over it, Typify tells us that it is any. However, we can try turning on the neural model and check again. And now it will query the neural model server to obtain the predicted types. And there you go. As you can see, it has correctly determined the types. And of course, the same thing applies for the other option, context retrieval, as well. Pretty cool. So that was a brief demonstration of the Typify inference engine showcasing some of the useful and interesting features. Thank you very much for watching.